That's wonderful.
And I'm just going to add one more thing to that, and that is we sort of categorize the expectations into unrealistic and realistic. I think that many of us come into marriage with such unrealistic expectations. We mentioned earlier that there are parts of it that only God can meet in us. That's one of our unrealistic expectations, that He can be everything to me. But I think even more than that, some of our subconscious expectations that are formed by our families of origin, what we saw in our parents' relationship, our life experiences, our passions, our temperaments, and all that. For instance, I really thought that every godly Christian man was neat and orderly and organized, because my father, who was a neat and orderly, godly man, he set the bar for me.
Right.
And I was marrying what I thought was the most godly man I had ever met, and I still believe that I did. But he's a mess. Clothes all over the floor, no real order, no real organization. And that created a small crisis for me, because it really, what it did is it surfaced what was for us an unrealistic expectation. Because no matter how hard Paul tries, he will never naturally be able to be orderly or organized. It's not in his gift set. He is extremely visionary. He's so gifted in that. But that means that he misses a lot of the details right in front of us. He won't even, I cleaned out his closet entirely during this COVID time. One of my DIY projects, I took everything out of his closet. I rehung everything so it's all facing the same way. The hangers are all, the pants are an accordion to one side, everything. I couldn't wait to show him the closet. And he came home and I said, I have a surprise for you. And he came in, I opened his closet door and I said, don't you feel better? And he said, not really. He said, I mean, I appreciate that you did this, but, and to be honest, I'm not even sure he would have noticed.
He might not have noticed
if you
wouldn't.
He would have. So that was an unrealistic
Virginia,
expectation.
there's someone out there right now, they're getting inner healing by just hearing this. What's their next step? How do they make the adjustment?
Well, I think there is one of the areas that you adjust by taking expectations that are unrealistic and put them to death. For instance, the person that Virginia went with before we started dating was very tall, very thin, very blonde, and a lot of hair. And I think her idea was that would be, well, I'm not tall, I'm not thin, and I don't have a lot of hair. I had more back then, but not still. If every morning we woke up, she said, you know, I always wanted to marry a taller person. Do you think you'll ever be taller? I mean, it's ridiculous, right? But I think we do that in marriage. We have an expectation that our spouse will be a certain way, and we're disappointed and we remind them of it daily. There are some expectations, it isn't going to happen with this wife, and it's not going to happen with this husband because of just who we are. And instead of harping on them, put them to death and work on the things that you can work on.
So we're not talking about moral issues here,
right?
Right. So there's a big distinction, but we're talking about preferences, exactly, that are rooted in our natural temperaments or Enneagram, however we want to approach it.
So maybe parking in the garage is a really unrealistic expectation.
I want the cars to fit in the garage.
I think it's great for storage. You can go more thrift shopping.
Exactly. And so I think that's exactly what we do. Some of us just need to lay down our arms, because it's said that we probably like 80% of the person we're married to, and 20% we hope will change. And whichever side of that equation we live in is the one that's going to grow. And I think for many couples, we live in the 20%, and it just starts to expand. And pretty soon we forget about the 80% because it's buried beneath a 20% that's now the majority of your view of your mate.
When we talk about expectations, we have a phrase that we use a lot. And that phrase is, the difference between your expectations and your experience will equal your satisfaction. So you come into marriage with expectations, your experience does not match that, so therefore your satisfaction is very low.
That's a great thought to end this section on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.